Hello, welcome to the Robinson Violin School free course where we're taking complete beginners starting from scratch and in just 7 days playing their very first piece on the violin. Welcome to day 7. Congrats, guys, who have been with us from the very beginning, days 1 through now 7. We are going to be talking about performing your first piece on the violin. We're going to be talking about some performance practice techniques, how to perform confidently, and all those great things. I have the presentation ready. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, here we are. Day 7, which is all about performing your very first piece. Let's jump in. Follow our channels, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. All right. Now share this free course with everyone you know. Let's make learning the violin accessible to everyone and start a music making revolution. Warning, this is the most important video in this course. Don't jump around or skip this video if you'd like it. To go a little bit quicker, you can watch it 1.5 times speed if you want to save some time. Now, these are all the things that we have accomplished so far from day 1. So we've learned about violin setup posture, how to set up the left hand. We learned how to hold the bow. We learned about the bow and the violin. We learned about the functions of each finger in the bow. We created our very first sound on the very first day. Then we talked about developing our tone, specifically the 3 ingredients to sound production: bow weight, bow speed, and sounding point. We learned your first notes with the left hand and our finger taps, finger exercises. We learned about rhythm and the building blocks of music. And then we've learned our very first song on the violin. So today's goal is just one goal, and how to confidently perform your first piece. That's all we're going to talk about today, and we do have a lot to talk about. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to talk about is mindset. So why do beginners, or those who are learning the violin in general, fear performing? So I think all of us have these types of fears, whether we have the violin in our hands or we're just talking to people in general. So I think we have a fear of making mistakes, correct? Like no one wants to do the wrong thing or do something incorrectly. We have a fear of judgment. So basically, if we do whatever thing wrong, we're going to be judged for it, that we're like not as good or not worthy or whatever thing we tell ourselves. Then there's like a fear of sounding bad, right? So if you've worked really hard on trying to learn a piece and you get up and you actually present it to people, it's very practical to feel, or feel fear out of not performing in the way that you think reflects the work that you put into it. I think that's pretty valid. And then there's a fear of actually like recording. I actually had this for a long time when I was studying the violin in school, and it was really hard for me to like have that perspective outside of myself. It was really hard for me to grapple with all the things that I was hearing and how to deal with that. So that's a really big fear, actually. Um, and just like I mentioned, every single musician experiences this, and especially beginners. And so yeah, it's something that we all experience. It's something that professionals experience. It's something that even the best of the best musicians experience all the time. It's a natural aspect, and even creative people outside of the violin world, but like just about anyone who has to perform in general may fear or feel these fears when they have to perform or demonstrate something. So it's important to kind of name these things. So there's something I want to talk about that can help all of these fears, and it's what I call the performance growth cycle. Okay, so I have this diagram here where I'm trying to illustrate basically what I'm really trying to talk about here. So it's basically we perform. So we start here at the top. So we do a performance. We take that performance and we evaluate basically what what went wrong, what went right, what could have, done better with our control. Maybe something happened that we had no control of at all. But it's good to look at it from all angles. We practice these things and we try to implement as much as we can to improve the next time we perform. So then we get to the performance again and we improve upon those things that we practiced, right? So in the performance, that one thing that we didn't do the first time ends up going a lot better the second time, right? And then you just keep repeating this cycle until you get a product that or something that you can present that you're exceptionally proud of. And this is really it's focused on the growth side. And it really takes several iterations in order to start feeling super, super comfortable with this. It's actually interesting because, like, when you hear of these really famous violin soloists, before they are playing whatever piece they're playing, whatever violin concerto they're playing with the Berlin Philharmonic or the New York Philharmonic or whatever really high profile orchestra, they've already performed that piece with probably 50 other orchestras before they've got to that moment. And it's intentional, it's extremely intentional so that um, they know all the places where they may struggle with or they have something could go wrong or has gone uh, a way that they weren't really planning on. And so it's built in that way. And this is just how the best of the best operate. It's how all of us improve and increase our ability to perform at higher and higher levels. So this is just something that I think is really important to talk about as we start learning our first piece and then get into this aspect of being able to present what we've worked on, right? So this is how we kind of can go through and expect growth out of our performances. Now, building confidence through this, we can look at this at a few angles. So before every run through a performance, we can take a deep breath. And I put something here that said practice 4 to 6 breathing. And I'm going to talk about this in the next slide as well. But breathing and practicing breathing is such a powerful tool. And I've used it so much, especially before I start pieces. I really take a moment to collect and try to control um, my body in that moment where I may be the most nervous or the most uncomfortable. Um, I know I may not be able to control a lot in the moment where you're actually performing, and but I know I can control my breath. And so the more I can flex that muscle, it can really can help like control my heartbeat. It can help control my nervous system, all these things, and the ability to just clear the mind and focus on exactly what I really need to do. So being able to like control your breathing and just practicing breathing, so 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 helpful. And again, we're going to talk about this in just a second. But when you're doing that, it's also important to like do that relax check. We talked about this perhaps on the first or second day, where we have to kind of like check our body and take a breath and just feel everything kind of go out, just all the tension and everything that we're trying to hold on to, just release. That's super, super important. Relaxing the jaw. Sometimes we tense the jaw up quite a bit. And also review the goal of the performance. What are you trying to do better this time? What are you trying to really focus on? Is it your sound that you're trying to focus on? Is it the rhythm aspects, just trying to really fill in the pulse? It's good to kind of like frame the mindset in that way as well. Um, so yeah, confidence really does come from repetition. So going back to that performance growth cycle, and then also just like a lot of our practice goals have been about getting in your reps. It's no different in this aspect too. The more we can get into our reps and get into a rhythm of what we're doing, what we're trying to expect ourselves to do, the more we're going to be able to perform at higher and higher levels. Okay. So here we're going to talk about the power of breathing here. So I have what I call 4 to 6 breathing, and this diagram kind of illustrates it. So we inhale through our nose, right, for 4 seconds, and then we exhale for 6 seconds. Okay, so it's really intentional to exhale longer than you do the inhale. Um, it really helps in so many different ways. There's some people um, who say that breathing in this way really helps the prefrontal cortex that makes it's like a lot of decision making in our brain, and a lot that we use actually when we are playing an instrument. So that's one aspect of this that really helps. I like to do this and then actually go into playing. You can also so like do the 4 and then the 6 exhale and then play, or start to play something and see how you feel with it. You can also just practice this in a cycle for like 5 minutes. There's actually an extremely helpful app called the Breathing app. I know it's on the App Store for iPhone users, but I'm not so sure about the other app stores. But super, super helpful. I have this app and it's completely free, and you can set it at different intervals. So it doesn't have to be 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. You can make it even longer if you'd like, but it has this diagram that really helps you control the breathing in a consistent way. I definitely recommend that. It also has a timer in it, so you can like set it to 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and then it just like naturally stops, and you can really keep track of it without having to, um, get too distracted. So breathing really supports the following. Breathing lowers tension. We just talked about that. It really helps improve tone because, you're less tense, right? And then it also really helps your rhythm. And I think it really helps rhythm because it kind of clears the mind and gets you to focus so you're not worried about all of these other things that are jumping in your head. You can really focus on the task at hand. All right. So again, I would practice this exercise at least 5 minutes every day. Um, it it doesn't take a lot of time, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be during your practice sessions, which I think is really great. So this can be another thing that you go through, which is what I call a pre-performance checklist. So basically, before you start playing, there's always a moment where you can like, just collect yourself. You can breathe in this process. I put that as number 6, but really you want to know and kind of check like, okay, is my violin balanced? Am I, playing really low in my scroll, or am I relaxed in my bow holds? Are my shoulders relaxed? Do I have a good posture? Is my music ready? Like, did I put the music on the stand? Sometimes when you get nervous, you're just so many things could be jumping in your head, like, oh my God, do I look silly? Is my tie straight? You know, did I put my shirt on backwards? Like, you could just like think of the craziest things. And I've thought about all those things before performances. Sometimes I check if my bow hair is tight enough. All those kinds of things. Um, so yeah, like this is a really good check, and you can practice this itself as well. See how long it takes you to kind of go through each step. And if you can do all of these things just like within maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds, um, I think that's like a really good amount of time to just kind of collect yourself, be ready, be in the moment, and then start playing. So this is something I would definitely recommend. So for our performance sake for today, our performance is basically going to be a recording, some kind of video recording. It's going to really help emulate that. Now, obviously, if you do have like friends and family at home, or maybe you'll be in a situation where you'll be around friends or people that you know really well and feel comfortable with just like playing what you've learned. You can totally do this and test it out in that way too. And or you can do both, and I would actually recommend that anyways. So I want to talk about how you can record yourself, and I would actually just use your phone. So like I use my phone for all the recording stuff I do basically. Actually, this entire course I've recorded with my iPhone. So, so yeah, I normally just you can either place it on a stand. I use a tripod, or you can use it on like a bookshelf or put it on top of a dresser or whatever's in your room that can allow yourself to be visible, like your upper body at least visible, your like full body if possible. It's really good to also see kind of how you're standing. Like sometimes people put all their weight on one side of their body, and it actually does kind of keep us unbalanced. If we're not really balanced, below just like how we stand and everything. So we put all of our weight maybe on the right side or the left side, it does really like kind of mess with all the things in our upper body as we're playing the violin. And so, especially when we get into more technical things, so this is also like just really important to just notice like what are your natural tendencies and habits. And recording yourself is gonna get really nitty gritty into a lot of these things, okay? And then also just make sure you have good lighting, something that like you can clearly see what you're doing, you know? Um, there's not like a massive shadow over your hands so that you can't really see how you're moving the hands or something like that. All right? Sometimes you might like cut your left hand off from the frame. Um, and so those are also some things that you want to kind of try to compensate for. So, for your first performance, I would go through your pre-performance checklist, and so I put that over to the side here as well, just so that we remember. Um, and then press record, okay, on the camera, play through everything completely, and um, it's really important to make sure you're not stopping, even if you have mistakes. And I mention this because there is an aspect where during our practice, we do really need to practice for performing, right? If we're practice like in practice mode all the time and we're constantly stopping to try to fix things, we're almost in a way um, telling our bodies like, if we don't have enough times of just like run throughs and practicing that process, then it's going to be harder for us to actually perform that way, right? So if we're constantly are just not really practicing a playthrough every once in a while, then it'll be just harder for us to actually play through the piece without thinking about, oh, I just made a mistake. I got to go back and fix it. So there is that aspect of like actually practicing to perform that is really, really important. And doing this exercise will actually really, really benefit this. So even though you're hearing mistakes, or maybe you messed up a rhythm, or you messed up a note, played something wrong, or your bowing was off, or whatever it may be, or you skipped a line, just keep on going. Just don't stop, no matter what. That's super, super important, okay? Can't stress that enough. We do have to like actually practice performing at some point. Uh, and that's super important. Okay, so going on. So, how to confidently perform your first piece. This is part 7. What to look for after recording, and then the 3-question system. Okay, so after recording, there are some common things that we look for. So we always look for posture. Posture is really important. The bow path, so basically our straight bow geometry. Okay, talked a lot about that. The tone, so scratchy tone or too light of a tone. Um, this may also relate to your interpretation, so like the musicality of it or how you're showing phrase lengths and dynamic levels. So like sometimes if your pianos are maybe too soft or your fortes maybe too scratchy or too abrasive, I would watch for those kinds of things. Intonation is something else. I don't know. I don't think we've ever mentioned intonation as a word during this course yet. But basically intonation is pitch or like how in tune something is. So you may be playing the right pitches, but they may be too high or too low of like versions of those notes, if that makes sense. So watch out for that. And then rhythm. So obviously, just like maintaining a steady tempo and pulse, making sure we're giving each each beat the equal amount of time that it's needed. So all quarter notes are the same lengths, all half notes are the same lengths, things like that. And then we look at confidence. So like, how do we present ourselves while we're playing through this? Do we look uncomfortable? Do we look like, oh, on these couple notes, I could tell I got really tense or something like this. So it's not only just about like confidence and like have you played it confidently or not, or if you were nervous or not. It was more about, also looking for uncomfortability, and trying to identify where that's really coming from. Is it coming from maybe maneuvering the bow, or maybe your left hand has to work really hard to play certain notes. So it's also translating into more tension in your bow. Sometimes when one hand does something, the other hand wants to do that same thing as well. And so it affects the sound. Um, and those are all just examples, things that we can look for. And now the three questions system. This is super, super important. So this is something that will honestly put you ahead of probably 99% of all beginners or people really like trying to learn the violin. Um, so after you play through and you record, you ask yourself also these questions. So like what worked, right? So what well, what did you do a really good job at, right? And then what needs improvement? So what could you work on? What can you control to heighten the performance? And then between those two things, what do you do next? And that may be one of the most important questions, because I think most people are like basically only looking at this second question where it's like, what do I need to do better? And like that's the only thing. But we also need to acknowledge what works, because you don't want to stop doing the things that you're doing well also. And you really have to take ownership of that. So, if you're doing something good and it's really working for you, you have to recognize it and take credit for it, and make sure that you're doing it also consistently and not focusing too much on the things that need still like to improve, because sometimes those other things that you did well might go away and then you're gonna have to like work them back in. Um, so that's also super important. And then just the last question, what is my next action? I think that is probably one of the most important we can ask ourselves, because how you set up the next, how you evaluate and then set up the next performance, and inform your practice sessions. Like, what more reps do you need to get in of? Is it of the sound quality? Is it of your finger dexterity? So like practicing just the left hand and trying to get like the notes a little bit better, or is it like practicing with a metronome and a specific measure so that you don't get thrown off rhythmically or something like that? So like I think you know that question alone is going to put you so far, because that's the perspective I think most people who are starting off just like kind of ignore. They just look at what needs improvement and just like 100% focuses on that, and they may not even be recording themselves at all, um, and just like doing it from an outside perspective, which I think is a little dangerous, because I think we can be like overly critical of ourselves, especially when we're just learning something. And I find that I'm also overly critical of myself when I'm playing the violin, but when I record myself and I actually listen to myself playing, I'm like, wow, that's actually not a problem. The thing that I was like so focused on when I was playing and thought it was a problem actually wasn't a problem at all. So this will really save you so much time and really get at the heart of the things that need improvement and why you need to improve them and how you're going to improve them, right? And also keep the things that you're doing well. So this three question system is just so incredibly important. And I'm serious, it will really put you ahead of like 99% of the people who are trying to learn an instrument or the violin. So this is like this is really valuable, to be honest. I wish I had this when I first started playing the violin. I could have saved so much time. So so yeah, definitely use that. Okay. Oh yes, and then I also put down here compare day one to today to like day seven. So that's so important because we're working really hard, and sometimes when we finish a piece or start to move on to the next, it's hard for us to take a moment to reflect upon how far we've come. And that is not only is that just important on a human level, but it's also important on a motivational level. When we're learning something that's, not the easiest thing in the world, when we're learning something that is very theoretical, um, and perhaps a little bit unfamiliar, and then we we end up getting through it and accomplishing it. We have to really take stock of like all the things that we just accomplished, and um how far we've come within the process themselves. So like I don't really do this enough either, uh which honestly, like, again, it's something that 99% of people really don't do. And when you do that, it really helps like create an ownership of all your progress and the music that you're creating, the leaps and bounds that you're able to come to. Because when you ever get to another, just like challenging point in your progress and in your violin journey, you're going to think back, oh, well, I can do it because I've done it before. I've done it before in different circumstances. And because of that, I've proven to myself enough times that I've been able to cross these boundaries. And so definitely, like right now, just take a moment to think about that first day and like, clicking play on the very first video in the course, and just like how all that information, I think it's like an hour and a half video or something, the very first video, which undoubtedly is a lot of information, and being able to play your first sound that day is totally crazy. So, and now you're like playing complete pieces, popular songs. It's really important. And in just 7 days to be able to do that is quite amazing. So, especially as a beginner, so definitely like take note of that for yourself. I think that's extremely important. So, and the next time that you accomplish something, or the next 7 days that you're working on the violin, really take ownership and stock of like, oh, well, that's what I've just accomplished in 1 week. Wow, think about a year, or 2 months from now, even. Really important to do. Okay, so moving on here, the secrets to continued improvement and what's next. So the secrets to continued improvement are basically a few here. So your basics really never go away. So, getting your reps in, those open string exercises we worked on with sound development, so the sound exercises, with pulsing the bow using like really isolating sound, the bow weight or bow speed, sounding point, all those things, or your finger exercises. So really increasing the speed in your left hand and the dexterity, mobility of it, making sure we're not tense in the left hand, all those things. And getting your reps in, but also when it feels simple, when it starts to feel simple, because it will, the more you work on it, it will start to feel simple. Find ways to challenge yourself. So maybe um, add in speed to your left hand exercises, or try to make up new finger patterns. Because I didn't give you all the finger patterns that you could do really. So try to make up new ones. Try to make it even more challenging. Or in your open string exercises, maybe incorporate speed and weight or different sounding point changes in it as well. Or different parts of the bow, or increase the the oscillations and the speed of the oscillations between, you know, a lot of pressure and no pressure at all. So I would definitely, the more you challenge yourself, especially once it starts to feel simple, it's like going to the gym and trying to build muscle. You have to kind of continue to put on more weight once things start to get easy. Um, so it's kind of the same way here, or like when you're trying to run, 5 miles, you don't start running 5 miles. You start running a mile and then maybe walking a mile, and then gradually, each time you try to do a little bit more. So it's a little bit like this when we're trying to continue our improvement on the instrument. But getting your reps in is super important. Um, and being consistent is also extremely important. Um, so just like running or going to the gym, if you don't play the violin consistently for just a little bit of time, it really does kind of just start to disappear, especially in the beginning. The more you've kind of had time in the game with it, the less kind of disappears, that's for sure. But yeah, so what's next? Definitely continue learning new pieces, and also continue, learning how to improve your tone. Once you get to a point, you can start learning how to shift and use your vibrato, which things we really haven't talked about. And then also, you can certainly join our Robinson Violin School community, actually. And this is something that I wanted to take a moment and talk about in our last day, because I think it's extremely important. So, if you're ready to really become the violinist you always thought you were meant to be, I really encourage you to book your free one-on-one strategy call with me, where we're going to talk about, and that's the URL, so robinsonviolinschool.com/start. You can book a call through my website there. And in this call, really all we're going to be doing is talking about a 90-day plan. And what I really want to do, and the thing that's really, really meaningful about this work, is allowing people to achieve specific goals. And so I really want to create a plan for your goals, for your own violin journey, whether that's learning a specific piece, whether that's getting to a certain, maybe you want to become an intermediate level within a certain amount of time, or you want to be able to play a certain piece for someone special in your life, or whatever it may be. These are the things that I'm absolutely great at and have done for so many different people. And it brings so much meaning to me to be able to show someone and have them enjoy the violin and music like I have my entire life. And so really during this call, like no matter what, if it doesn't feel right, if you don't think, working together is going to be really the best decision, completely fine. And there's no like hard ask during the call or anything. It's really focused on the 90-day plan. So anyways, booking the call, you'll get the 90-day plan for free no matter what, whether you want to join the community or not. So I just want to put that out there. I also want to talk a little bit about what's inside of the community. So there is a structured curriculum. You will get personalized feedback from myself. There is accountability to reach those goals that you really want to achieve. You'll get coaching, and then also you'll be part of a community of violinists that have like-minded goals. So I think, I really tried to build something that is specifically for these types of people who are trying to achieve something really special with the violin, either for themselves or for others. And the more I'm able to do this for others, the more it really does bring meaning um, for the world, I believe. And so please, I really do encourage you to book the call. I would really welcome it. And yeah, I hope to meet you all very, very soon. And yeah, so that's enough about that. Uh, it's time to celebrate. You're in the last day of the 7-day course. Congratulations. You are now deemed a violinist. So you don't become a violinist when you are perfect. You become a violinist when you consistently show up and make music, which you did today. So our final accountability post, upload your best run through of Mary Had a Little Lamb, and then let us know your biggest breakthrough over the 7 days. I'm really curious what you're the most proud of. Um, and yeah, I would love to hear how you guys feel about all of that. So thank you so much for your trust in starting your violin journey. Thank you for trusting me in that. Um, I I really am really thrilled about all of you. I'm so proud of your progress. Keep going, and I truly hope to see you inside the Robinson Violin School soon.